night. Technically, it is the 4th of August, 2025. Just a little bit after 1 a.m. here in New York City. I'm just going to do a little late night live stream here. Thought I'd come on, have a little fun, relax, chat with some people in the community. Hey, what's going on, Joe? Good to see you. Glad you're here. Welcome. Just waiting for some more people to join. Pretty early here. Just started the stream. Hey, what's going on? Currency of Earth. Prince, good to see you, buddy. How are you doing? I'm doing good. I'm just chilling tonight. It's late here. It's probably like the afternoon there where you are. Just chilling. Thought I'd do a little late night live stream. Been home for a little over a week now, not working. So just waiting to start my new job in a few weeks. So got a little bit of time off, taking it easy, trying to relax a little bit. Hey, what's going on, Nickel? Yes, sir. Hey, what's going on, Jeff? Good to see you. Did you say you were... Where were you again, Jeff? Yeah, you spelled it the British way, Joseph. Yeah, it's just a... This is my first Rolex. This is a Datejust I got a while back. When did I get this? I've had this, I want to say 8 years already. Yeah, this is my first Rolex. Yeah, you too. What's going on with you? You've been busy? Been busy studying, or I remember you said you might come over here to the U.S. to study eventually. Yeah, it's kind of a it's an older model from the 80s, 1983. Reference 16013. Two-tone Datejust. Yeah, gold and steel two-tone. Yeah, typical with the I guess the fluted bezel they call it. So yeah, I don't know. I see a lot of younger guys like in their 20s, they start earning a little bit of money and then they start off with a watch like this. So I don't really wear it too often anymore, but I don't know. I thought about wearing it. I usually wear my Submariner now. So if I do wear a watch, but I still like rocking the Datejust. I don't really like too big of a watch. That's why I like the older Submariners. They're like 40 millimeter, the bezel. Some of the newer ones are a little bigger, like 41, and sometimes they wear a little bit wider. But yeah, I like smaller watches in general. I woke up at 7 p.m. My mom, so good morning. Yeah, but you're spelling morning with a U, Joseph. We don't spell it like that in the U.S. I don't know why you're spelling it the British way. But hey, to each their own, right? It's actually not correct English, not correct spelling in the U.S. Let's see the rings you have on. I don't I don't have any rings. Most guys use their cell phone for time. Yeah, exactly. No, I just wear it. I don't really wear watches. I wear it once in a while. I don't have any. I had I got one signet ring, uh, but that's about it. And it's just it's just gold plated. It's not real gold. It's just a onyx ring I have. It's not really anything special. So I don't even wear that ring. I probably haven't worn that ring in about 10 years. I don't really wear rings. I don't wear jewelry in general. I don't really like to be too flashy. The only thing I wear is a watch. That's about it. And even that, I rarely wear. If I go out once a month, I wear a watch. So, nah. Oh, 888 the Great. Well, me and my friends always say good morning has not bothered anyone. pinky, pinky finger. I got one. I don't. I got one. It fits on my ring finger. I usually wear it. I don't know where it is. Like I said, I haven't worn it in about 10 years. So, but yeah, this thing. I don't know. Even this, I haven't worn. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of people lately with a two-tone date just wearing it recently, and I said, well, maybe I'll start to wear it again. I don't really wear two-tone. I used to mostly wear. I have a black engine turn bezel one, reference 16030, which I believe they stopped making in 1988. I want to say somewhere around there, 87, 88. So that one was my main one. And that one was from 1977. That was the first year they came out with the 3035 movement. So that was an early 3035 movement watch that I wear. Yeah, I don't know. I used to really be into watches, and I'm just trying to get rid of them now. So if you're interested, Nickel, if you want to buy any watches from me, let me know. If you want to trade for some gold or silver even, let me know, because I do not want to I do not want to have these watches anymore in my stack. I'd rather have gold. Oh yeah. How much would you give me for something like this? I'm gonna have something to drink right now. Got some got some Goldschlager, guys. Have some real gold flakes in there. Have some Goldschlager. I don't have any ice tonight, so I figured this is palatable without ice. I could have a little bit of Goldschlager tonight. Yeah, I mean, the watch market's been up and down the last 5 years. They really essentially haven't changed in price. They've gone up and they've gone down, and now they're up a little bit. So essentially, you know, they haven't really changed much in value in the last 5 years. But I think when I bought this, I want to say I paid 3,500 for it. And if I sold it today, maybe I could get 5,500 for it. So yeah, I mean, it's gone up in value a little bit, not much, but I don't think my Submariner has really appreciated, because I paid up a little bit to begin with. I had it serviced, and I paid a bit extra, to have that done. So it kind of it kind of basically is worth about what I got it. It's worth, if I try to sell it today, what I paid for it is probably worth about that. So hey, what's going on, Jerry? Good to see you. I was hoping to see you tonight. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate it. Remember Seinfeld? What about Seinfeld? I saw a lot of those episodes. Actually, one of my roommate in college had the whole like DVD series. He watched every episode. So he was from upstate New York, and he was asking me certain questions like, "Do people in New York really do that?" And I was like, "Yeah." Oh, come on, come on. We don't have time for this. We don't have time for this. Yeah, so I'm just chilling till I start my new job in a few weeks, taking it easy. What's everyone been doing lately? Anyone been buying anything, selling anything lately? Now that silver is down a little bit, has anyone gotten anything recently? Oh, yeah, that that type of humor is not permitted on my channel. New job, same company. You're still working, Nicole? I thought I thought you would have been retired by now. I don't know what that means, Joseph, but okay. Yeah, I'm basically gonna be doing the same type of work I was before, but this time I'm gonna be in management, so that should be interesting. I've been in management before for this type of work, and it wasn't too bad. I'll be fully remote, so that's always a positive. That's one of the main reasons why I took this job. Because it's getting harder and harder to find remote work in banking. You hear all these banking CEOs like Jamie Dimon wanting employees in office most days, if not all days. So I found that to be very appealing. That in and of itself saves me a lot of time and money, because if I have to commute every day to work, it wouldn't be too bad. It'd be about 45 minutes. But then back and forth, it's an hour and a half. Then I have to eat out for lunch. I could bring my own food, that's true, but most of the time I'm just lazy, so I would just normally eat out. And then if I get caught in taking the train, the train could be jam packed, and you feel like a sardine in the train. And if there's a delay on the train, I just hate commuting. So I kind of got used to working remotely the past 5 years. Hasn't At first I kind of hated it, but now I've grown accustomed to it. Yeah, it is. Uh, no, I did see AOC in 2016. She worked at a Mexican restaurant around 14th Street, and I saw her then. That was the only time I've actually seen AOC in person before anyone knew who she was. So, yeah. Oh man, no, 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 thank you, Nicole. I know that's your dream, but that's not my dream. No, thank you. No. Yeah, I'm lucky she never represented the district I was in. She represented a district that I used to live in, next to where I used to live, but she never represented my district, so thank goodness. Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that, Jerry. Yes, I was just reading about AI as well. was reading an article about Bill Gates saying, they really don't know if it's going to be in the next year or 10 years if AI is going to take over, all these jobs. I read that Microsoft is letting go of like 8,000 employees or something in like customer support or something because of AI. And I really think it's going to affect the younger generation a lot more. I'm hoping, to be in a management position where hopefully my job will not be affected too much. But yes, what I do, um, kind of the basic entry level one stuff is I've been to some conferences on this years ago, even before COVID. They started talking about AI, and there's really it's kind of in the wild west right now. Certain things have to be done by humans. There's no regulation that says AI can't perform certain tasks. So I'm kind of curious to see how the regulators will come up with new laws requiring humans to do this type of work, because some of what I do, they do require humans to do the work. They specifically say in some consent orders that outside help has to do it, and they specify outside individuals. So they don't they clearly specify individuals, and I think more so since AI is becoming prevalent. So I basically clean up banks messes, basically because their internal staff messes up, so we got to come in and clean up their mess. So this is required by law. They usually are under consent orders. So for what I do, I don't know exactly what's going to happen with AI, if AI is going to take over, but I see a gradual shift towards AI. I know for the company that I'm going to be starting with, they have some type of AI assistant. So I don't know exactly what the capabilities of it is. Um, but basically, what I do, I'm pretty sure eventually it's going to be automated. So I'm getting a little bit worried right now myself, but I don't I don't know. I could see AI the same way. Um, let's say the same way computers started uh, taking over people's jobs in the 90s. You saw less manual labor, you saw robotics and more computers taking over human jobs. I don't think it's going to completely eliminate everything. I don't think, I know AI is a different beast altogether, and they may eventually develop AI that is more um, efficient, more effective, more accurate than humans. It's definitely going to happen, but I don't know. I think some jobs, there's always going to be a need for some jobs, but it's definitely going to just put more. Um, it's definitely Jobs are definitely going to be taken over a lot more by AI in the future. So I'm kind of glad where I'm at a point where I'm hoping it won't affect me, but I do think for a lot of the younger people, I talked to a friend of mine who has a daughter who's in college now, and he's afraid for her. He doesn't know what's going to happen with her. So we'll see. No one really knows what's going to happen, but it's unavoidable. AI is definitely going to be taking over a lot of people's jobs. So AI cabs. I mean, Tesla already has self-driving taxis in Austin, and I think I've seen them, or I heard of them in New York. I think I saw one on the street one time here. So, hey, what's going on, OC? Good to see you. Good to see you. Uh, let's see. I was way too tall. You're almost 7 feet, Joseph. What? Your secretary will be AI. Yeah, you can just like bend over, I guess. Semi trucks will be AI delivering. Yeah, there's already drones delivering goods in China. So I've heard. Yeah, AI limo. The riot. The riots burned some. Yeah, I heard them. I heard something about them. Just someone, a group of people destroyed one of those cars. Yeah, I heard about that. Oh, I think teaching eventually is gonna. There's not gonna be a need for in-person teaching. I think that's definitely gonna happen in my lifetime. Um, so yeah, it's everything's going towards a uh, digital reality. Unfortunately, give them a plastic apple. Yeah, more like a digital apple. Um, it's I don't know. There's positives and negatives to everything, and it's unavoidable. It's just unavoidable. Think about computers. Think about the internet. Think about me streaming right now. This existed maybe 15 years ago, but go back 20, 25, 30 years ago. We didn't have this technology. This technology wasn't, no one was doing this 30 years ago. So, um, it's for better or for worse, it's here to stay. It's unavoidable. All these all these companies are investing huge in AI, and I do think these companies are good investments. I'm not a financial advisor. Let me put that disclaimer out there, but yeah, Microsoft is basically cutting those 8,000 jobs to invest that money into AI. So I think over the next few years, I think AI is definitely going to be big business. See it for the foreseeable future, the next 5 years or so. But I have a feeling there's going to be an AI bubble, just like there was a tech bubble around 2000. I think the same thing is eventually going to happen to AI. But I think I think if you want to invest in AI companies for the next few years, I think it's a pretty safe bet. So I might have to start investing in some of those companies as well. We already have virtual money, Nickel. It's called cryptocurrency. Maybe you heard of something called Bitcoin. It's only been around for about 15 years. Yeah, wars will be fought AI versus AI. Yeah, it's already happening in Ukraine. I mean, there's already drones fighting each other. So, I mean, it already is happening. Yeah, I'm just messing with you. Anyways, what's everyone up to tonight? Anyone planning on buying anything soon? Anyone got their eye on anything? So yeah, I just released a video tonight on some coins I'm going to be submitting to NGC for grading. I'm hoping to do another video in the next few days. Be showing you guys a gold coin that I recently picked up, maybe some silver as well that I picked up, and yeah, we'll see. I got some vintage silver that I want to show you guys what I picked up. So that should be coming out within a week. Hey Renee, what's going on? Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Renee. I know a lot of people don't agree with me and you, but I completely agree. I don't think there's nothing backing it. To me, it's just a pump and dump. Honestly, I don't believe in crypto. will never invest in crypto again. I made money in crypto. I'm not saying there's not money to be made, but I think eventually it's going to crash, and there's going to be a lot of people who lose a lot of money. And my advice is, if you do invest in crypto, don't put your life savings in it, because I do not have a good feeling about crypto. I really don't. That's a little before my time, but okay. Yeah, you definitely do, Jerry. Yeah, I don't know. There's just they don't even know who invented Bitcoin, and I'm sorry I didn't invest in it early on when my friend told me to invest in it. He told me in 2012 to buy like $100 in Bitcoin, back when Bitcoin was about $8 a Bitcoin. So yeah, he's a multi-millionaire now, living in Canada, crypto multi-millionaire, and he basically just works 1 day a week. He does usually on Mondays he does some day trading, maybe once or twice a week tops, and for like 3-4 hours a day. And he doesn't even need to do it. He just likes he gives him something to do, keep him busy. He's a multimillionaire, so he doesn't need to work. And I should have listened to him. uh, oh well, I'm I'm a fool. So what can I say? Some Japanese dude that worked for the CIA. I just think I don't think that's his real name, Satoshi Nakamoto. I mean, you don't really know who that is. That could have been anyone. There's all sorts of conspiracy theories. They say the person who invented it died. They say it was some professor in Australia. There's all sorts of theories about who it is. But something that complex. It wouldn't surprise me if it was built by the CIA or a government agency, not just within the U.S. or maybe some other country. So I don't know. It could be anyone or anything. I really don't know who invented uh, Bitcoin, and I really don't care. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Hey, what's going on, Emerald? Good to see you. Yeah, unfortunately, um, the younger gen. This is why we have to educate, I think, the younger generation on what true money really is, because they think tapping their phone on a pad is money. They don't understand what real money is or how economics works, you know. And it's unfortunate, when I went to college, I had a roommate, and he's like, I don't know how to write a check. I know checks are not that prevalent today, but 20 years ago they were a little bit more prevalent. And he's like, oh, I don't know how to write a check. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, they never taught us anything in high school, or how to write a check. There's no financial literacy class. He's like, I wish they would have had something like that when I went to school. And I'm like, yeah, they really should, but they don't. And it's intentional that they remove it from the certain states. I know their education departments, or the curriculum is decided by them, but I think it's nationwide. You don't really see any financial literacy being offered in too many places, unfortunately. And it just disheartens me when I walked into a convenience store. We call them bodegas here, and some kid was asking the guy. He's like, "You take Apple Pay?" And he's like, "Yeah," and he's just like tapping his phone to buy like a soda for like $2 or something. And it just ticks me off, because you know a lot of these governments are trying to push CBDCs. I went to a conference on CBDCs before. It's partly related, has some relation to what I do for a living. So um, yeah, I'm not happy that a lot of these countries, the U.S. not as much. I think more in Europe and Canada and certain Asian countries are trying to push for this more and more. I could kind of see why they would want this in a country like China, where they could monitor people's transactions, what they purchase, what they're using their money for, to support or not support. Um, I think it could be a very interesting tool for a lot of these autocratic governments to see what their population is using their money for. So yeah, I mean, not just for that reason, but there's a lot of negatives associated with CBDCs. Not just the fact that Big Brother is watching, but there's a lot of other negatives associated with CBDCs. So yeah, I don't want to get into that. Yeah, exactly, Jerry. I think you hit the nail on the head. Um, they don't, they don't, they don't teach critical thinking much anymore in schools nowadays. I think I, I hate to use China as an example, but I will use them as an example. China, they don't. Why is there no innovation coming out of China? It's because they don't teach their population to think critically. They don't want their population to think critically for their own purposes. They want to control their people in China, so they don't teach people to think critically. We used to do that in this country. We used to teach kids how to try to think critically. And even when I went to school not that long ago, um, critical thinking was very important. It was a very important skill to have, especially when I studied engineering. You had to really know how to think critically about things outside of the box. So you're not really taught those type of skills anymore in school, and it's unfortunate. What this educational system across the U.S. has taken out of their curriculum over time. A lot of these budgets are funded by scores, math and English scores. So a lot of time is devoted to those two subjects. So other areas, the arts and physical education and other types of classes now, computer classes and stuff like that. A lot of it is taken out because um, they devote so much time spent on just math and English. So these school districts and states and could get city, state, and federal funding for their schools. So they cut out certain curriculum, certain subjects in schools, and they focus mainly on English and math, which is terrible in my opinion. So yeah, it's there's definitely it's definitely a sad state of events that's going on in the education system nationwide in this country, unfortunately. Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, that's the case, Nickel. It's sad. They don't learn about history and how communism and socialism has never worked. Certain aspects of it, like socialized medicine, I could see, but I mean, you're basically taxing people a lot to pay in order to pay for that service, and I could understand that to some extent. But as far as other aspects of socialism or communism, it looks good on paper, but it never works in practice. And even with socialized medicine, a lot of times you have to wait to see a doctor. A lot of countries now, like Canada and the UK, actually, and Australia, you could actually pay to go see a private doctor now. So, I think it should be an option. I think they should have both. I think they should have both a public and a private sector healthcare system, and people should have the option to choose what they want. I don't think people should be forced to pay for something that either they don't want or they don't need. So that's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with me, but um, the healthcare system is definitely broken in this country. I usually don't talk about politics. Nickel got me talking about politics now. I don't like to talk about politics, but Nickel got me talking about it. Yeah, I love pizza. Oh my god. I want to probably go hit up a couple places with my friend. I usually go to some places in Brooklyn for pizza, and now that I'm off, and my friend is basically semi-retired right now, so we're both free. So yeah, I'm probably gonna meet up with him uh, this coming week or next week. Get some pizza. Yeah, you're tricky that way. Yeah, I don't know. So what's everyone up to? Anyone been buying any precious metals recently? Any gold, silver, platinum, palladium? Yeah, no, that might be your dream, not mine, Nicole. Mm, just chilling like a villain tonight. Got my 50 centavos. Oh man, I love this coin. I look at this coin like every day. This just motivates me to want to buy more gold. Love this coin. Osmium. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever buy osmium, unfortunately. I don't think there's a huge market or demand for osmium. I know the price is, they say it's what, the most valuable metal per whatever gram or. No, I'm not going to buy osmium because the market for that metal is extremely small. It has no practical application, crystallized osmium, so no thank you. Yeah, definitely, Jerry. Look at that. That is beautiful. Look at that. Love that. Love that proof buffalo. Oh my god. This is just gorgeous. Definitely one of my top five favorites. But I don't know. I just like the 50 pesos better. Hey, what's going on, Chu? Good to see you. Yeah, the world could end tomorrow. Also, Nicole, it's a possibility too. We could talk about possibilities, or we could talk about reality. I like to talk. I like to think in real terms. I'm a realist. No, it's good. It's good you diversify your portfolio of metals. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of osmium. Just for me, I personally don't see any practical application of osmium, and I see it being an extremely limited market. I don't think too many people really know about crystallized osmium or even osmium in general being used in jewelry, or for ballpoint pen tips. That's the only applications I really know of osmium being used. Oh my God, nickel, emerald. I don't want to. I really don't want to get into that. I hope, I pray every day that that guy does not get elected, but it's not looking too good right now. And I really don't like talking about politics, but We already did have a socialist mayor in New York City, and he completely ruined the city. The mayor we have now is not my favorite choice. He's not a lot of people's favorite choice, but I think he is a heck of a lot better than the dope from Park Slope, who was the mayor before him, who was a socialist as well, and he completely eviscerated this city. Crime went up. People left the city. Employment went down. As far as people being able to get a job, actually unemployment went up. Crime went up. Um, he, just terrible. The effects of his being mayor are still being felt to this day, unfortunately. And I think the current mayor has actually cleaned up the city a lot. I'm not a big fan of him, um, but if this communist gets elected, things are really going to be really bad in this city. It's going to be like Chicago, or worse than LA or San Francisco. I think it's going to be really bad, because right now we're still the safest big city in America. People get this bad reputation. They have this bad, connotation with New York, and they think it's infested with crime. But I mean, that hasn't been the case for 30 years. Even though crime has gone up, it's still at levels that are far below what they were 30 years ago. It's the safest big city in America, New York City. So I think it's gonna be the most dangerous city in America if this communist gets elected. I'm really getting worried. I'm really getting scared right now. Bernie, yeah, Bernie can do his thing. He's let Bernie do his thing. You know, he has no he has no say anymore. He's a little too old and senile. So I don't take what he says seriously. Yeah, absolutely, Emerald. I completely agree with you. It was one of the worst in the country, if not the worst. So yeah, 80s. My my dad used to have a Luger in the 80s. That was his everyday carry, and when I was born, my mom made him give it up. But yeah, my dad was in the army, so he qualified as sharpshooter, so he knew how to use that. he wasn't he wasn't just carrying that around for any reason. He actually knew how to use it. So yeah, he told me a couple of stories about him being robbed, or people trying to, let's just say, people trying to rob him. no one no one Well, in the 70s, yeah, my mom got robbed, but that's a story for another time. I don't know, Nickel. It really depends on your background, how wealthy you are, how poor you are. A lot of factors, not just age. Okay, Joe, you do your thing, man. You do your thing. Mm. Did you say in one of your posts, Joseph, that you were a communist? Didn't you say that in one of your posts about a month ago or so? I don't like to talk politics. I really don't like it. But I'm just, I don't know. Nickel always likes to talk politics. He always he always tries to goad people into talking about politics. What does this say on your glass? says 100 years. So this glass was actually given to me by Peter J. Says the famous grouse. So if you look here, the etching on the bottom of my glass, there's a depiction of a grouse. And this is, I guess, this company's logo. And they celebrated a 100-year anniversary. It's a distillery in Australia. And I think Peter J said he had a set of these, and I think he said he broke one, and he just decided to send me one. So yeah, this is from a distillery in Australia. So yeah, that's the story behind the glass. Yeah, you wish, you wish. Yeah, yeah, I agree with you, Emerald. I don't like watching the news. I try to avoid it like the plague, but sometimes on some websites, it just pops up, and I just I just don't care. It doesn't. Okay, I don't. It's not that I don't care what's going on in the world. It's just it's like, okay, there's an issue in the world going on, and they focus solely on that one fucking issue. Okay, there's literally a million more important issues going on in the world right now, right? And they just focus. They're very myopic, and they focus on that one particular issue till they fucking beat a damn beat beat it like they beat a dead horse. You know what I'm saying? They just repeatedly focus on that one story. Meanwhile, there's a million other bigger things going on in the world right now. And then eventually, after a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, they don't report at all on the story. They just, whatever. So why am I going to waste all my time and energy watching the news, focusing on some myopic topic that it doesn't mean shit to me, doesn't make any damn, it's not going to change anything that's going to affect my life. So I don't care. Why am I going to watch every day, night and day? Who the fuck? I don't give a fuck about Epstein, okay? I could give a shit about Epstein. I don't care about Epstein, okay? If and or when the list comes out, good. I don't think the list is ever going to come out. I think there's people on both sides of both parties that they don't want that list to come out, and that list is not going to come out. Okay, that's just my opinion. Why am I going to focus on that? I don't care about watching the news and, oh, this do we have videotape of this, we have a picture of that, we got testimony from Maxine whatever, and I don't care. I don't care. Who gives a shit in the bigger scheme of things in life? Who gives a shit about that? Okay, if it's going to come out, it'll come out. You'll hear about it. Why are you going to obsess over something that may or may not ever come out? Who cares? Who cares? I know people want accountability, but the reality of the situation is, if it ever does come out, it's probably going to be 50 years from now, and we're probably all going to be dead by then. So who gives a shit? It's like JFK. Who killed JFK? You're never gonna know who really killed him. It might be the CIA, it might have been the mafia, it might have been someone else. Who knows? You're never gonna know. And that's the same thing with the Epstein. You're never gonna know. You know what I'm saying? I just it just pisses me off because when you watch the news 30 years ago, right? You didn't see this type of bullshit on the news. People giving their opinions as facts. Just report on the facts. Stick to the facts. Don't I just don't like hearing people's opinion on one side or another, left, right, whatever in between. I don't care. Okay? I just don't give a shit. You're talking about ratings. Oh, Fox News has the highest ratings. Who gives a shit? There's only 2 million people. There's over 330 million people in this country, and you have 2 million people watching your channel. So what does that say about you? Does that say that you have a big group of followers watching what propaganda you're trying to push, whether it be CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, it doesn't matter because no one's watching you to begin with. Who cares? It is brainwashing. It is a form of brainwashing today. I just don't care. You could say whatever you want. You could say whatever you want about Trump. You could say about Obama. You could say about Epstein. I don't care. It doesn't. If it doesn't affect me, what do I really care? You could say one thing, another person can say the complete opposite, and they both will state it as if it's a fact. And you never really know the truth. So who cares? I don't care. It's all a bunch of bullshit. It's just the media. I blame the media for a lot of negativity. I blame the media for the downfall of American culture because all these younger generation, all they're watching is fucking TikTok. You know, they're watching TikTok. And remember what was that thing? Trump wanted to ban TikTok, and now because it helped him get elected, now he doesn't want to ban it. What the hell is that about? What the hell is that about? TikTok is run by the communist China. It's owned by the communist Chinese party, and they're using it to spy on our country. They could access people's phones, data on people's phones. I never had fucking TikTok. I don't download that app. And now they don't want, and whatever happened with TikTok, whatever happened with that, you don't hear about that anymore. It's just like they focus on a story and then they just, whatever happened to the audit of Fort Knox, you don't hear about that anymore. Why make such a big deal about it just to ignore it? It just frustrates me that the media focuses on these issues and then they just let it go for whatever reason. I just don't like that. It's just bullshit to me, you know? These kids don't care. They don't care. They're spoiled. They don't realize how good they have it, okay? I seriously think they should show, kids in third world countries how people are living. Let them be exposed to how people are living around the world. Um, Throw them in the middle of the fucking desert or in a third world country and let them, live for a day or two and without technology, take away their phones for a day or two and let them see how they'll survive. And you got people addicted to their cell phones. It's sickening. It's just sickening. It just ugh, you got me going. You got me going now. So exactly, 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 exactly. That's what it is. I completely agree, Renee. I completely agree. And it's sad these kids don't care, you know. And unfortunately, I hate to say this. I really hate to say this, but it takes something like a national tragedy to bring this country together. The media tries to divide this country. If you think about it, if you look at it, okay, Congress passes laws every single day. And it doesn't matter if you have a Republican majority, you have a Democratic majority, laws get passed. You want to know why? Because in reality, whether you're a Democrat or Republican or independent, probably 90% of the issues um, they pretty much agree on in this country. Okay, this country is actually a lot more conservative than Europe or Canada or other countries, and people don't seem to realize that in the bigger scheme of things. And we pretty much agree on most things. It's the 10% of issues that the media likes to focus on that try to divide us. Okay, because I'm just tired of it. We're the United States of America. Okay, we're not the independent states of America. We're the United States, okay? So I'm tired of the media trying to divide us based on political affiliation. I just can't stand it. They focus on one or two hot button issues to try to divide us, when in reality, if you look at the bigger picture, we actually agree on a lot more issues, that bring us together than divide us. So, that's another reason why I don't like watching TV or the media in general. you know, Nickel, the U.S. is a fairly conservative country. If you go to Europe or Canada, they show nudity on TV. That's not allowed by the FCC in the U.S. They don't allow nudity. They allow kids to drink alcohol at 14. You go to Italy, you could drink alcohol at 14 if you're a kid. Here, it's 21 legally. So, we're somewhat of a conservative country in general if you look at the bigger global picture. So, yeah, I don't know. I just, there's just too much politics. I just don't like talking about it. It just upsets me. It just pisses me off too much when I talk about politics. This is why I don't like talking about politics. Well, that's a different thing, Nickel. I mean, that's to protect kids. That's to protect kids. But you could see a naked woman or naked man on TV in Europe. I've seen it, you know. So, you know, hey, what's going on, Silver and Cigars? Good to see you. Exactly. Yeah, it's addictive. Social media is addictive, and for us older generation, maybe we didn't grow up with social media, but these kids are born into it these days, and it's sad. They think reality is whatever they see on TikTok or YouTube even, and it's sad. It's really sad. Oh, hey, what's going on, Cartier? I didn't see you. Thank you for stopping by. Take care. God bless. Yeah, it is. It is addictive. It is addictive, Emerald. I completely agree. I like to step away from technology sometimes. Sometimes I'm on the train, and I basically I very rarely use my cell phone on the train unless I have like a long commute. Like if I'm working and I commute home, then sometimes I'll play like a game just to relieve some tension or something. But often, most of the time, I don't use my cell phone on the train, and I just look around at the people, and it's like at least 80% of the people are on their cell phones, and I'm like, it's not that safe in the subway. I don't want to get robbed or have someone, stealing something from me because I'm not paying attention. If you see something, say something. You got to be alert in the subway, especially. So I don't know. I just think I don't know. I don't know what to say anymore. Yeah, I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I grew up in the city. I do like. I've been camping. I used to go camping every summer for a week or so with my friends, but I'm not really a nature person in general. I do like being outdoors. I do like doing outdoor activities. I like biking, walking, going to the beach, playing, whatever sports. Not so much anymore as I get older, but kids today, they're just on their phones all day. They don't go out anymore. Parents are afraid to let their kids go out and play. When I grew up in the '90s, it was a different situation, and actually crime was actually less is actually less now than it was when I was a kid, at least here. So I understand there might be more threats to kids nowadays, but I don't know. I just think it's kind of sad that parents are kind of coddling their kids a little bit too much these days, in my opinion. I understand about kids' safety, but there has to be some time for them to just like get out and enjoy themselves. Even if it's supervised by the parents, let them get out, play sports with their friends or something. Let the parents be there. When they do it. If you're so concerned with their safety, just let them get out a little bit and be kids. Don't let them sit in front of the fucking computer screen or cell phone all day on TikTok, you know? It's not healthy. Yeah, I stopped it too, Nickel. When I basically, probably when I was about 15, 16 maybe, I pretty much stopped playing video games. And you know, a lot of my friends in college were playing video games, and I didn't really play it that much. It's like I bought like a, what is it, PlayStation 2, or I think I bought a PlayStation 2, and I had my roommates playing it more than I did. I hardly ever played it, you know? I just played with my friends once in a while. They want to play it. But my friends or my roommates played it more than I did. Hardly ever played it, you know? So that's already 2600. Damn. That's going a ways back. I bought a PlayStation 3, I think, and I basically just bought it for one game. That's it. Well, I bought I bought two games, but I basically only bought it for one game, and I pretty much have only played that game and one other one on that system. I beat the game and that was it, and then I bought another game and I played it maybe a handful of times and that was it. So yeah, I don't really play video. I mean, sometimes I play some computer game once in a while, but not really. I don't really play. I'll play like an old school. I'll play like Monopoly on my computer or chess or Scrabble. Something that actually uses my brain a little bit. So, have I heard of, what is that? EC's Dime Time Challenge? No, I haven't heard of that. I don't know if you want to type it out. What that is. Nickel, Nickel over there playing Leisure Suit Larry. Yeah, I know what that game is, Emerald. My kids purchased Wii game for me years ago just so they had one to play with, knowing I did not like video games. Yeah, I remember I was in the dorm. I remember when I think it was the Wii came out. I think, was it, no, was it GameCube? I think it was Game. No, it was Wii. When the Wii came out, and it was like a few days before it came out, and my resident assistant, like the guy in charge of the floor, I was in the dorm, he knew someone who worked in like a video game store, and he had like the Wii like a couple days before it came out, so we were playing it. It was kind of fun. But at that time, I hadn't played video games for like, you know 5 or 6 years. I was like, this is the first time I'm playing a video game in like 5 years. It was kind of strange. But yeah, I'm pretty much done with video games. I mean, like I said, the only type of video games I normally play are ones that make you think a little bit. Like, I like playing chess, I like playing Monopoly, just games that make you think a little bit. That's pretty much what I like. What music you listen to? I listen to pretty much everything, and please don't hate me when I say this, but I don't care for a lot of country music. There's some country music I do like, but I pretty much listen to everything. I mean, I grew up in the '90s. I like '90s dance music, techno, trance, chill wave. I listen to some rock, some pop. I like, not really modern pop, but more like from the early 2000s, from the '90s pop. Rap, obviously, growing up in New York City. Pretty much every type of genre. I listen to classical music as well. So yeah, I love world music. I pretty much listen to everything. Yeah, I don't know what that is, Joseph. I never played that, so. U2, I like some of their songs I listened to when I was in college. They're okay. They're all right. No limit. There's no limit to really what I listen to, pretty much. Yeah. I don't know. I'm I didn't really listen to much rock. I listened to like growing up. My parents listened to the oldies, so I actually like the oldies a lot from the 50s and 60s. You know, um, rock and pop from that time. I actually really like those songs. Kenny G. Maybe if I'm on hold. I don't really listen. I don't listen to Kenny G. Um, my mom used to work for someone, and he used to have Kenny G on, like when he made people wait on hold. They would play Kenny G. Yeah, I'll probably fall asleep listening to that. To be honest, Safety Dance. Yeah, I know that song. You could dance if you want to. Do, 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 do. Yeah, I like 80s music. That's like, I mean, I'm born in the 80s, so I mean, I didn't really listen to it much growing up. But yeah, I like 80s music. I love 80s music. Uh, yeah, 80s, 90s, 2000s. I know I'm probably younger than pretty much everyone in here except maybe Joseph. So I grew up mostly with 90s pop music, 90s dance music, early 2000s hip hop and rap. That's mostly what I listened to growing up. The Doors, yeah, the Doors are good. Donate a silver dime, get put on a wheel of elimination, try to fill a 1 liter bottle, hoping to have about 7K in silver. I'll have to check that out. That sounds pretty interesting, Jerry. You're older than everyone. Hee haw. Yeah, you could dance if you want to. That's a safety dance. Yeah, I know that. I know that song from the 80s. That's a good song. Lonnie Anderson from TV show WKRP in Cincinnati. Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, I know who that is. I've seen that show on reruns. So I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, she was a knockout back in the day, definitely. Oh, hey, what's going on, transient? Yeah, you're like halfway there already. You never thought she was all that. I mean, I vaguely recall what she looks like. I mean, she seemed to be a fairly attractive woman to me. I mean, I don't know. Burt Reynolds. Yeah, he recently passed. I mean, it's been a few years, but relatively recently. Yeah, I'm with you, Nickel. I don't care for blondes too much. Some are not too bad, but yeah. Yeah, pay attention, Nickel. Pay attention. You gotta forgive him for his seniority. Um you gotta give him a little leeway for that. Oh shit. That's messed up, Nickel. Alright, cool, Jerry. I'll definitely watch it. Thanks. Yeah. Oh. Oh, guys, give give Nico a break. Give Nico a break. he can't he can't help having a crush on AOC. That's that's why he don't that's why he don't particularly like blondes. Um he prefers AOC. Auburn, Washington. They got a good football team out there, right? College football. No, I don't know. I never been west of Las Vegas, so Oh man. Oh man. I love this. I love just watching what people are typing in. Yeah, let us know, Joseph. Go for it, man. I'm not gonna judge you. Maybe other people will, but I won't. Yeah, drive safe up there. I know it rains a lot up in Washington. Well, if you, I don't really follow football. I actually knew a guy. Um, so this guy had he was a bit he had a few screws loose. He had you know that guy who just like shot up people in New York City here, and he was saying he used to be like a football player, and he said he suffered from that affliction that football players have. So I knew a guy like that. He seriously had. I seriously think he had that. He used to play for Ohio State actually, in the early '90s. I'm not gonna name his name, but I worked with this guy, and I was his supervisor. So yeah, so this guy had a few screws loose. Someone said that on another project, like he got fired. Some guy got him fired, and he tracked this guy down, and he like keyed this guy's car. So this guy was like he was really psycho. So I was kind of afraid of him. I was kind of intimidated by him. So, anyways, I was cool with him though, thank God. And then um, I was out with. So what happened was he got arrested one night, and he went to Rikers. And the whole story is he was like cheating on his wife, and then his wife came home, and he like beat his wife or something, and then like his wife like knocked his tooth out or something, and so he was in Rikers. And then he got out, and then like all of a sudden he was like Jekyll and Hyde. He was very like dressed proper. He's wearing like business casual, like nice dress shirts and slacks and everything. And then he just started wearing like these pink shirts and like chain smoking and shit. And I was out with him one night, and he just starts talking like we were drinking heavily, and he starts calling up this woman, like threatening to like beat the shit out of her and like her husband and stuff. And then they had to hire like a security guard where I worked because of him. He had already been fired, not because of me, but thank God. So like once I heard all this about him, I'm like, yeah, I gotta stop. But I think it's sad because I think he actually suffered from that disease that football players, like they get, if they get hit one too many times. I think he really suffered from that disease. Yeah, and he played for Ohio State. So I'm not gonna name his name though, but yeah, it's sad. It's sad. These people need help. The shooter in here in New York City, who came from Vegas. I don't know what the answer is. Their brains are probably permanently damaged, and certain parts of the brain, are probably activated because they get hit in the head one too many times, and it affects certain parts of their brain. And I don't know what the answer is, to be honest. People like that maybe need to be medicated. Maybe that would help. I don't know the answer, but it's just sad. These people that play professional sports, especially football. Um, I really hope they do something to try to uh, prevent that disease from happening in the future to these athletes. Yeah, yeah. No, it's like I said, I was afraid of this guy. It's not that I wanted to hang out with this guy. I was kind of afraid if I wasn't nice to this guy, that this guy would do something to me. That's how that, so I kind of had to, I was put in a situation I didn't want to be in, essentially. And then once I heard this guy was like in Rikers for like beating his wife, I'm like, I don't care anymore. I'm not going to associate myself with this person. And luckily, he didn't do anything that I know of to me. So um, it's scary. I work with some crazy people. You wouldn't believe the stories I have people who I work with if I told you. I mean, that was just one example. Like I was on this crazy project and it paid crazy money, and it was the project was being run by a guy who was sent to jail for tax fraud, and it was also run by someone who was in jail for financial fraud. So yeah, and I worked in banking. This was in banking, so you can only imagine, the type of stuff that I saw and I dealt with, and being in management. It's crazy the stuff I heard and saw there. Yeah. I just opened up about my dream. I'll copy and paste what I said. So I dreamed about I was in World War II and I was married to Gestapo Asian chick, and we had fun in bed. That was the project you bought your Rolex with. Yeah, yeah, it was actually. Yeah, it was. I also fully paid for my MBA at that time. I was doing my MBA, and yeah, that project paid for that as well. So among other things. So yeah. um, yeah, I wish I could get on a project like that again, but I always say it was the best of times and it was the worst of times, because it was the best of times because I was really making great money and the work wasn't that bad. But it was also the worst of times because it was like a soap opera, and being in management, I had to deal with a lot of this BS on a daily basis. So it was good and bad, just like everything in life. There's positives and negatives. So it is what it is. I was on that project about a year and a half, and made my money, and yeah. Yeah. When I got a gun pointed at me, oh yeah. I mean, yeah, I could tell that story. I was in college, and it was maybe like the second or third. It was like the second or third week of college, and I made friends with a guy. He was also from New York City, but he lived off campus. So we partied. We went to some house party, played some beer pong, and we were kind of drunk and shit. And then I left his place, and this guy was like stalking this girl. I could see he's like following her, and I thought he was gonna like do something to her. And then all of a sudden, like, these other guys start coming out of the woodworks out of nowhere, and then the guy, like, his friend calls to him, and like he turns around, and the guy like just basically pulls a gun on me and is like, give me your money. I said, take whatever you want. And it was like basically six guys there, like teenagers, like 15, 16-year-old, whatever. And how the guy got a gun, I don't know, but I wasn't gonna fuck with six, juvenile delinquents. And these kids were really stupid. Um, they took I had on, it wasn't a real watch, but it was a Breitling watch. It was a fake one, and they didn't take my watch. Okay, they didn't take my cell phone. I had a Razor phone back then. That was like, I had just bought that Razor phone, brand new Razor phone. They didn't take my phone. They took my keys, which I didn't have a car. It was just my dorm key they took, basically. And they took my wallet, and I think I had $15 in my wallet. Okay, So they took my ID, I had a library card in there. Okay, $15, and they left my watch, they left my phone. And I'm like, what the hell type, they wanted to try to get a car. They thought, maybe they want to get money for drugs. They're probably looking for drug money. And um so yeah, no, I don't carry my, who carries their social security card? I never carry my social security card. That's locked up. I have that locked up now. So then I go to the office on campus to get a new ID, and I said, "Oh, I need a new ID." And the lady's like, "Oh yeah, it happens. Kids lose their ID so often. You lost your ID." And "Ma'am," I said, "I was held up at gunpoint, and they took my ID." She's like, her face just like dropped when I said that, and she's like, "Oh my God." She's like, "Don't." She's like, "Don't worry. You don't have to pay the fee." It was like a $15 fee for like a lost ID or something. Like, you don't have to pay the fee. Don't worry about it. And she just like gave me a car. Her jaw just like fucking dropped. Like the look on her face, like she thought I was like some young irresponsible kid. And I'm like, "Ma'am, I got held up at gunpoint." And she's like, "What the fuck?" It's like I was like laughing on the inside. You just gotta make light of situations like that. When you come out unharmed, you gotta kind of like laugh at it. So yeah, and this happened. I was never. I was actually robbed at knife point in New York City once, but at gunpoint, that was upstate in Buffalo. That was a bad area. That was a really bad area. That where my friend lived. Yeah, it had my address in New York City. I was 350 miles away in Buffalo. So I mean, what are they gonna do with like a Brooklyn library card and New York City ID? Uh, so I didn't give a shit. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's like, I thank God I came out alive. They didn't do anything to me. I said, just take whatever you want. I'm not gonna fight for a few dollars. I'm not gonna have the guy shoot me for a few dollars. And they were stupid. They didn't take my watch. They didn't take my phone. I'm like, if that was a real watch, that would have been a couple $1,000s. My phone I had just bought, that was at least a few $100s. They didn't take my phone. It was a brand new Razor phone I had just gotten like a week before. It's like, what the hell? so so stupid. Anyways, exactly, yeah. Did you go to Syracuse? No, I went to Buffalo. I went to the University at Buffalo. I've been to Syracuse. I've been through Syracuse, but I didn't go to school in Syracuse. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I could tell you another interesting story about almost getting robbed. So this happened to my dad. He was, I don't know. I guess it was late at night. He was coming home from work. He worked like a late shift or something, and he got out of the subway, and some guy had, I don't know whether it was a gun. It might have been a gun. And he's like, "Give me your money." And my dad, like, my dad was very, very intelligent person. Um, so what my dad did was, when a car was coming by, with their high beams, he started flagging them down. He's like, "Police over here, the guy's over here." And like he said it really, really loud. It wasn't a cop car. It was just like someone's car, and he's like flagging them down, like as if they were the police. And the guy just like took off running. The guy just like ran in the opposite direction. He just took off. So yeah, my dad was quick thinking on his feet. Another time, my dad was in the subway and he felt the guy reaching in his back pocket, and my dad just like grabbed the guy by the wrist, and the guy, he said the guy just started smirking. So my dad just like fucking like, I don't know. I don't think he broke my dad. I don't think he broke his wrist, but he like, I don't know. He just like twisted it, did something to it. I don't think he broke the guy's wrist, but then he just like shoved the guy like, off the train or something. He held the guy until the next stop, and he just like threw him off like, the train. So yeah, my dad was quick thinking. My dad was in counterintelligence in the army, so he had a very sharp mind. He was a very very intelligent person. Yeah, it was UB. I was studying engineering at the time, and yeah, it was good. I what I ended up doing is I was like maybe one semester away from completing my bachelor's degree, and I decided to leave. I know it's kind of dumb. I did that, but I didn't want to do engineering anymore. So um, I actually came back home and went to a college more locally. It was like a city university, and I found it to be way more rigorous than the university that I went to. Albeit it was a different subject, but my electives that I did take upstate in Buffalo, I found them to be extremely easy compared to what I took in in here. I found it to be harder, the education. And my friend also did the same thing. He studied up there too, and he got another degree back here at one of the city universities here. And he said it was much harder as well. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I studied some of the engineering classes weren't, most of them that I took weren't too bad. Some of the math classes that I had to take, differential calculus, more advanced physics classes, more advanced math classes that I took were somewhat difficult. For me, I didn't like computer science. I had to take some computer science classes. That was kind of difficult for me because I was taking a lot of classes at once, and that really required me to use a lot of thinking. So I couldn't handle it. No, my dad passed away, unfortunately, about 15 years from cancer, from smoking. Yeah, yeah, yeah. My dad. It was during the Vietnam era, so he was gonna be drafted. So he decided to enlist in the army, and he got to choose where he wanted to go. So he went to Germany at the time. So yeah, he was very smart to do that. Yeah, thank you, OC. I appreciate that. So yeah, that's interesting stories I could tell you about my dad and about me, stuff that happened to me. Mm. And did some crazy shit back in college. Man, to be young again. But yeah, anyways, yeah. So yeah, I came back home, and I didn't know what I wanted to do exactly. Well, he's deaf. Well, my dad didn't smoke cigarettes. He smoked cigars and a pipe. So it's probably even worse than cigarettes. But yeah, he got hooked on it in the army. Unfortunately, he started smoking in the military, and I can understand why. But he gave it up like about 5 years before he passed. I kind of got him to quit, and he probably would have been gone sooner if he hadn't. So at least I had that much time with him. So yeah, we didn't always, get along when I was younger. I was like a rebellious kid, you know, juvenile delinquent. um, but yeah, when I started going away to college and I'd come back for the breaks and stuff, we kind of mended our relationship. So yeah, the last like 5 years or 5 6 years with my dad were really good. We had a really good relationship. So yeah, I'm very fortunate for that because I know a lot of people. Some people don't have good relationship with their parents. So yeah, I was blessed to have a good relationship with my dad. It's true. It's true. I'm reading about all these like microplastics now. It's basically in everything. It's unavoidable. It's in our brain. It's in our blood. These microplastics. It's terrible. Everything will give you cancer. It's not just smoking. These these microplastics will give you cancer. Everything will give you cancer. Unfortunately. So that's good. That's good, OC. That's awesome. You're very fortunate, OC. You really are. And I worked with a guy in his mid to late 60s, and both his parents were still alive. In their late 80s, early 90s. And he was very blessed to have his parents still around. At that age. So yeah, that's awesome. Well, everyone has a different relationship with their parents. It's not always a good one, unfortunately. But I don't know if I'm just very blessed. I didn't always have a good relationship with my dad, especially. But I'm very blessed that for a while, even before he passed, we came to an understanding, and we had a good relationship. So I'm very fortunate I had that, at least. I watched Triple X with Vin Diesel when I was a kid in sixth grade. I swore at my teacher, and yeah, things went downhill. Yeah, that was a good movie. I like him in Triple X. That's one of my favorite roles of him, aside from Fast and Furious. But anyways, yeah. So I don't know what the hell I'm talking about tonight. I usually don't talk about stuff like this. Nice. I see. I see. Yeah, I mean, I don't, I don't judge people. Everyone's situation is different, and everyone has different things going on in their life. I try not to judge people or be critical of people, and it's just unfortunate. I have family members like that too. I haven't talked had a conversation with my sister probably in about more than 15 years. I don't talk to my sister. So, everyone has people in their family I'm sure they don't talk to or they try to avoid for one reason or another. That doesn't mean that they're bad or, they should try to make up. Sometimes it's just an issue that you have two different opinions or you just don't agree with them or whatever. You have an argument and for whatever reason you don't want to talk to them, and I think that's fine. I have no I I don't judge. Like I said, I don't judge people. Everyone has a different situation going on in their life. So for whatever reason you know it is what it is. But yeah, i just I just have crazy relatives in my family, unfortunately. Hey, what's going on, Avocado? Good to see you, man. How are you doing tonight? Yeah, Lonnie Anderson. I'm seeing it now. think she's fairly attractive. I mean, she's a little older in that picture. I think she's pretty attractive. I don't know what Nicole's talking about. My back hurts. Yeah, I had a bad accident a couple years ago, and I actually had to give up working, and I kind of put it off, and then it just started flaring up like 9 months later. Just like I couldn't walk barely. And for me personally, I went to a chiropractor, and this guy's been doing this over 40 years, and it really seriously helped me tremendously. Um, I know a lot of people don't believe in chiropractors or don't think they're good, or they might have gone to one that wasn't good, but luckily I found one that's been good for me. And I used to go to my regular doctor, and he was, they're very against alternative medicine. And he was kind of, I told him, he saw the damage, he saw the x-rays of, how my back is. I have a pinched nerve, and I have a disc out of place, and it's very bad. And he's saying, oh, you should have surgery. When you have pain, you're having pain, you should have surgery. And I'm like, I don't have pain anymore since I started going to my chiropractor. And he was like kind of surprised when I said that. So, for me personally, it's helped me. I'm living proof that it has helped me personally get rid of pain. Before I started going to chiropractor, I'd constantly have back pain. But, after going for a few months, the pain started dramatically being reduced. So, I get occasional flare-ups every now and then, but now I usually see my chiropractor maybe once every 2 weeks. At one time I was seeing him 3 times a week. So, yeah, it's dramatically helped me personally. Not saying it's for everybody, and but it is what it is. Let me see. I'm looking at. Let me see what people are saying in the chat. My entire body hurts. Starting to develop a bunion on my right foot. Oh man, you gotta take better care of yourself, Joseph. You gotta take better care of yourself, man. You got too many problems. You're too young to have all these problems. Same with my two brothers. They became materialistic, and every conversation was about money. I finally had enough. Yeah, I don't like dealing with people who are materialistic. Although I'm a stacker, I like showing off gold, but it's not outside of this is what my YouTube channel is about. Precious metals. When I talk to people on a daily basis, I don't constantly talk everything about money. I don't like people like that either. I don't constantly think about money. And I know people who are like that, unfortunately. I know people who have come from money. I know people who have been poor and gotten money. And I've seen how money has changed people when they get money, or, when they start making their own money, or they inherit money. And yeah, a lot of people just don't know how to handle it. So they don't know how to manage it. And then everything becomes about money, trying to get more money, and it's just, I don't, who cares? It's just, money's just a piece of paper to me. That's what I always say. I don't, I do stacking. This is for my retirement. This is to try to educate people about, different, I like the history about these coins, and try to, educate people about real money. I don't say, oh, look at this. I got a Rolex. I got a Krugerrand. I'm not trying to flaunt my wealth. Uh, I try to educate people about these things. And yes, I'm very blessed to have a great job and be able to afford these things. But at the same time, I'm not all about money. Most of my, I like talking about precious metals on my live streams, but I like talking about other things too. So it is what it is. Um, yeah. A lot of people do like money, but it's not shouldn't be your sole purpose in life. You know, to earn money or talk about focus on money. It's there's so much more to life than money. You know. Exactly, like politics, Nickel. Exactly. Talk about politics. Don't talk about money. Oh, who doesn't like spending money? But see, transient, you're selling your gold because you're using it to fund your business in the Philippines, and I like that. I like hearing about that. When you talk about, why you're selling it, I like to hear about that. I want to know what you're using it for, how it's helping you, how precious metals, real money is helping you achieve your goals. Yeah, who doesn't who doesn't like money? Yeah. I don't like earning money too. Work I like my money working for me. I don't like working for my money. You're going through genetic problems that I inherited. Ooh, sorry to hear that, Joseph. You know what? If Joseph, if that's the case, then I think you need to really watch what you eat, because what you put in your body, I think, can trigger certain things. There are certain people with certain food allergies, gluten allergies, and certain things that they avoid. And I think maybe if you kind of tweak your diet a little bit, this is just a suggestion. I'm not telling you to do this. You don't have to listen to me, but I think maybe it might be beneficial for you if you seem to have if you're genetically predisposed to a lot of conditions. I think some of them might be able to be avoided depending on what you eat. Certain things that you eat and put in your body might trigger certain things. They say people with MS, like if they have gluten or something, it might trigger makes their MS worse or something. So you might want to look into what you're putting in your body. If you are genetically predisposed to certain conditions, because certain foods you eat can make these conditions a lot worse. So just something to consider. I got some bad genes too. I have a problem with food getting stuck in my esophagus. I'm sorry to hear that, transient. Really sorry. Yeah, there's medicines you could take for that. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, OC. My father and aunt had it, as well as my brother. Yeah, yeah. There's lots of remedies, but honestly, I think the best thing is what you put into your body, because you to sustain life, you have to eat, and what you eat, it could trigger these conditions. It could just make them worse. If you have acid reflux, maybe you want to avoid spicy food. If you have MS, maybe you want to avoid um, gluten, stuff with gluten in it. So, it depends. You really have to do research on, what conditions you have, get diagnosed with these conditions, do some genetic testing to see if you're what's the word? If you're basically predisposed, to get these conditions. They have genetic testing now to see how likely you are to get these conditions. If you have a family history, let's say, of diabetes or heart disease, you could do genetic testing for that now. You might want to change your diet, and that's what I've done. That's that's a major reason why I gave up meat, because I have a family history on both sides of my family of people having heart disease. So um, I try to avoid saturated fats, and unfortunately, meat has a lot of saturated fat in it. So I cut that out from my diet. So I'm trying to reduce my risk of getting heart disease. That's awesome, Jerry. That's awesome. That takes some discipline. I give you a lot of credit for that. That is awesome. They say intermittent intermittent fasting is good, but I'm not here to give people advice on what to do. Everyone should do whatever works for them. But yeah, definitely look into what you're putting into your body. If you're saying you're eating certain things and then you're feeling you might want to avoid those type of foods that are making you feel that way. But see, if you go to Jamba Juice, what are they putting in that drink? Are they adding are they adding processed ingredients to that? Are they adding sugar? What are they adding in that? You gotta look at not just the good stuff that they're adding, but you gotta look at the bad stuff that they're adding too. Oh, I love orange juice. It is awesome. If you get freshly squeezed orange juice, not that concentrated crap you buy in the supermarket, but if you get like organic or something, it's probably not bad. But yeah, fake sugar is worse. I agree with you, Emerald. I mean, not Emerald, sorry, Nickel. It is worse. High fructose corn syrup is worse than cane sugar or unprocessed sugar. Processed white sugar is probably just as bad as corn syrup, though. But if you get cane sugar, it's probably not as bad, as corn syrup or processed sugar. Yeah, now Trump is trying to get Coca-Cola to change it to unprocessed sugar in their drink. So we'll see when that comes out. Fix almost all our meals at home. Rare to go out, and I'm the same way. I order out, maybe at maximum I'll order out 3 times, 3 to 4 times a month tops, and it's usually dinner. And when I do order it, I order mostly Chinese food because the ingredients are pretty simple that they put in it. It's just vegetables or whatever. It's really not anything too processed Chinese food. So I get that a lot when I order out. Um, I never ate in Chipotle once. Never will, never have, never will. I rarely get Subway. I used to get so sick when I ate Subway, like because of their bread. They put some like chemical in their bread that kept it fresh, and now they like remove that chemical. So since they removed that chemical, I've eaten the Subway before, and I don't get as sick anymore. But you really don't know what they put in your food when you order out. You just don't know what the hell is in it. So I'd say like 95% of my meals on a monthly basis I make at home. I tend to mostly go to Trader Joe's, and allegedly they're less processed and more organic stuff they sell. But who really knows what's in the food? Just because it says it's organic doesn't mean it really is. But I like to think by the way it tastes and the way it looks that it's a little healthier than other stuff that I buy from eating out. Exactly, Nickel. You don't know that. You could get typhoid fever. You could get salmonella poisoning. You could get a multitude E. coli. You could get a number of things, and I've gotten it. I've gotten sick from eating out. I've gotten food poisoning from eating out. Unfortunately, it's not fun. Trader Joe started in the SGV. I'm guessing that's somewhere in California because I think that's where it started. Oh, yeah, I know there's no Trader Joe's in Hawaii. I don't think I don't think what's his name. I don't think Silver Sleuth or what's his name is in here tonight. But yeah, they're starting to branch out Trader Joe's. Oh, San Gabriel Valley. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I knew it started in Cali. Yeah, I love Trader Joe's. I mean, they they had one maybe since I was like around 20 in New York City, and maybe since I was a little younger in the suburbs. So yeah, I went to Trader Joe's probably when I was around 10 or 12 years old the first time. Um, but yeah, they didn't really come to New York until maybe about like 20 years ago. So yeah, let's go back to glass. Well, that's what they're trying to do now. They're trying to put stuff more, make it more eco-friendly, Um, and that's definitely, I try to avoid plastic. I do have plastic, but and I have metal utensils. I have stoneware plates I use. I never buy paper or plastic plates. I never use that. Styrofoam is banned here in New York, so people don't use styrofoam here anymore. But yeah, occasionally you see someone when you eat out, they'll still use styrofoam, but it's illegal here. So you rarely see styrofoam anymore. But yeah, that's what you're putting. That's what I'm talking about. These microplastics are getting into people's bodies now, and they're unavoidable, unfortunately. Yeah, Coke and glass. My ex would tell me, she's like, you shouldn't drink beer from a can because of like the aluminum. You're drinking that aluminum or something. It's no good for your body. You should always get it in a bottle and not in a can. So I was like, yeah, you're right. So I try not to get beer in a can, but sometimes I do. So yeah, I have mountain water, spring water. Yeah, the water is actually really good. Sterling silverware to eat with. That is really smart, OC. That is really good. Even if it's just silver plated, that's really great to use. Yeah, silver has antimicrobial properties. Even back in the day, the Romans, they would use copper pipes for their water to drink their water because the copper is also antimicrobial. It has antimicrobial properties, so they had a lot less occurrence of stuff like typhoid fever and sickness from drinking their water because of the copper pipes they used. But yeah, I always use filters for the water, even though the water quality is extremely good. Surprisingly, in New York City, we get water from aquifers upstate, and the water quality is like really great quality, some of the best in the country, believe it or not. Um, I always use filters. I always use filters. Yeah, copper is definitely good for drinking water. It definitely, if you could get like even if you get like a copper mug, like if you make like a Moscow Mule, it's usually in a copper cup. If you could get something like that and drink out of that, that's probably good to do. I like that, OC. I like that. I like that a lot. You go, OC. You tell Nickel. Yeah. I don't know what to talk about. It's almost 3 in the morning here. I'm probably gonna call it quits soon. I've been on for almost 2 hours, so I'm gonna wait another 5 or 6 minutes till I hit the 2 hour mark, and then I'm probably gonna call it quits. Look at this. Look at this. What I just saw on the news. Look at this. Mexican city had one of the world's highest homicide rates, so it fired most of its police. It's just like, what the hell, I'm not gonna read this trash. I don't care. I just don't care. Yeah. Yeah, good night, Jerry. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, OC. I appreciate it. I appreciate that a lot. You've been an amazing person with your comments, and I appreciate you also sharing some personal stuff on here, especially about your Krugerrands. I really like that. So yeah, that's awesome. About your what you're doing for your daughters as far as passing it on. Uh, so yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, so I don't know if anyone else has anything else. I talked about stuff I normally don't talk about tonight. I do eat tons of protein though, like extra cheese, pepperoni, pizza from Little Caesars. Yeah, you got to eat more fiber. Get some more fiber in you, Joseph. You know, try to have some more roughage. Thank you. I appreciate that avocado. That's very nice of you to say. Yeah, I try to keep things, somewhat neutral. I don't like necessarily talking about politics. I know Nico likes talking about politics sometimes, kind of brings it out of me sometimes, but I try to keep things fairly neutral. I try not to, if I have a strong opinion, I'll express it. But I let people are entitled to their opinion. I have nothing against it. If Nico wants to support AOC, more power to him. That's his right as an American. He has the right to choose who he supports in politics and who he doesn't. That's a right that we're given in this country, and not everyone in countries around the world are given that right. In China, it's a one party system. You either vote for the Communist Party or you don't vote at all, and that's the only option you have. So in this country we have a little bit more options. We have two parties, two major parties. So we have more options. We were allowed to freely, for the most part, freely express our opinions, and people don't seem to realize that. Unfortunately, a lot of the younger generation don't seem to realize um, the freedoms that we have in this country. So um, yeah, I don't know. I am not voting for VP. Show the buffalo. You want to see the buffalo? Okay. I'll show a little bit more. Yeah, it has a proof. You guys can see that proof finish. I want to show my face. Ooh, look at that. That buffalo. Beautiful. Love it. I'm so glad I got it. Now I want to get the BU version. Now that I got the proof version, I really want to get the BU version. Yeah. Nico, you should write in Ross Perot, I think. you should you should write in McCarthy, I think. You should write in George Washington. How about that? How about you write in Napoleon? How about you write in Napoleon? Or Genghis Khan for that matter. Musk. Oh, I don't even follow that. So what? So what if he's dead? You could still write him in, can't you? That's your constitutionally given right. If you want to write in a candidate, you could write in whoever you want. Why don't you go vote for Kanye? go go write in Kanye, right? Go vote for like you said, Ron Paul. Write in Ron Paul. Write in Bernie Sanders. They're still alive. They're still alive. uh, yeah, this is getting too fun. People, I don't think people will think that, Nickel. I think people already think that. So I don't think you have anything to worry about, buddy. I think people already think that. So you don't have anything to worry about. You're good. You do you, Nickel. Go put in Richard Nixon next time you vote. Steven Seagal. I was on a Steven Seagal binge a couple years ago. I watched pretty much all, well, not all his movies, but I tried to get as many as I could to watch. I probably watched about a dozen of them. His later movies are so bad. You could tell he just did it for the money. And there was a whole. I watched this guy, like, okay, so I don't want to get into it, but Steven Seagal was not a nice dude. Okay, you know how Steven Seagal got his black belt? So what happened was when they were testing him to get his black belt, the judge actually fell asleep, so he never actually saw him, perform. But the judge was so embarrassed that he just like gave him the black belt anyway. So not to create any controversy for himself. Um, but yeah, Steven Seagal is not a good dude. He is a horrible person. And there's a video on YouTube if you're interested that I saw about him, and it's very interesting about him. Not for a good reason though, but yeah, he's not a good dude. Let's just say that. Under siege. Yeah, yeah, the cake scene. Yeah. I think I'm about to call this a night, guys. I just want to thank all of you for stopping by. I love doing these live streams. I love getting people's opinions. I don't necessarily like talking about politics, but I don't mind it. If someone wants to start talking about it and get me going, then unfortunately, sometimes it'll get me going. All right, guys. Everyone have a good night. Stay safe. God bless. And take care of yourself and your loved ones. I'm out of here. And like I always say, guys,